Rob Perillo.
Welcome back. Well, the heat was certainly on this afternoon, and we have more of the same going into the weekend. In fact, temperatures up a notch, dew points up just a little bit as well. It's mainly going to be guided on which direction our winds come from. If it's more from the Gulf, not quite as hot. If we get a more westerly wind during the day, we'll be hitting the mid-90s and heat indices at least 10 degrees warmer than that. So let's take a look at the big picture, what we have going on with respect to those ridges of high pressure. One centered in the Gulf of Mexico. These are upper level ridges. Another one over toward Arizona and New Mexico, but dominating much of Texas. And in between, we have this west-northwesterly flow aloft, and that's pretty much the storm track we've been watching over the last couple of days, with storms in Arkansas moving mainly into maybe clipping northeast Louisiana, moving mainly into Mississippi, and our weather being dominated by southwesterly winds across the area, and a cap on that atmosphere thanks to this ridge of high pressure that is not going anywhere. In fact, it's going to inch a little bit closer to us. So instead of a southwest wind, we might see more of a west-southwest wind, and that's why we think we're going to see mid-90s in the days ahead. Now, as for the tropics, we'll get to the East Coast in just a bit. Elsewhere out in the far eastern Atlantic, a couple of tropical waves. One showing up here that's not looking too terribly bad, but not too terribly good either. Another one pretty far south, so no major issues out in the Atlantic basin. But as we indicated, we did have a little bit of a storm developing off the outer banks of North Carolina. Hurricane hunters went in here today. They found a closed low-level circulation. They found about 40-45 mile-an-hour winds, mainly in these storms off to the east. And thus we have our newest and our sixth named storm of the season. Awfully early to have the sixth named system of the season, and you're barely out of the first week of July. This does not have a bearing on the rest of the season generally, but maybe this year it will. But another not much of a system-type system where we do have tropical storm warnings in effect, New Jersey, New York, up through Rhode Island, and they're going to have low-end tropical storm conditions with some wind and some rain over the next couple of days. May get up to 50-mile-an-hour winds. It's mainly going to impact Long Island, probably with the strongest winds, but there will be some heavy rainfall here across New Jersey, New York, and portions of New England as we go through Saturday. No concern of ours here in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, we're still dominated by blue through Saturday. Might see a little bit more moisture eastern Louisiana on eastward Sunday afternoon and Monday afternoon. So we'll boost up the rain chances closer to about 20, maybe 30% on those days. Outside of those days, it's going to be 10% or less, and we resume the same pattern going through the middle part of next week. And then toward the end of next week, I mentioned we might see some disturbances, a little bit of a tropical wave, and a change in the pattern where we start seeing these easterlies where weather moves from the east to the west. So we might see an increase in our moisture toward the end of next week and into the following weekend. So in the near term, your RPM futurecast here, the RPM model indicating fair to partly cloudy skies once again through tomorrow. Temperatures in the mid-90s, heat indices up there as well. Saturday, not much change, although there could be a few isolated showers popping up toward the Pontchartrain, but that's about it locally. Maybe a slightly better chance of an afternoon storm on Sunday. Temperature-wise, we barely get into the upper 70s again tonight. Tomorrow, low to mid-90s with that heat index up there, and then tomorrow night, barely getting below 80. I'm not sure if we're going to get below 80 tomorrow night, and then well into the mid-90s again for Saturday. That heat index up there in the 105 range. I wouldn't be surprised if we see heat advisories being issued as we get into tomorrow, most certainly the weekend, with those heat indices topping out between 100 and up to 107. This is just the I-10 corridor, but around bodies of water, ponds, coulees, that sort of thing, you can easily generate a heat index over that level up to 110 or 112. I've seen it on the golf course up to 116 after the sprinklers have just gone. 77 the low tonight. Tomorrow we'll get up to 94 for a high, so getting hotter out there with that heat index up there. And as we go down the road, we'll notice our temperatures well into the mid-90s for not only the next several days, it looks like for the next week before we see a change in the pattern toward the end of next week. So there you have it, heat indices near 105 to 112, and they're going to stay that way as we go through the days ahead. That's it for weather for right now. Back over to Jim.
All right, thanks, Robin.